In 2005, London, the capital of the UK, suffered its worst ever terrorist attack.
Reports are just coming in of an explosion at Liverpool Street Station here in London.
Jihadists, inspired by Al-Qaeda, detonated bombs killing 52 innocent victims and injuring another 770. But could these atrocities have been averted? MI5 claimed they had no prior intelligence on the 4 suicide bombers.
Secretary Clark. Mr. Speaker, there's been a great deal of speculation about the ongoing investigation.
Charles Clarke, the UK Home Secretary at the time of the attack, initially described the 4 bombers as cleanskins, a term used by the intelligence services to indicate that the perpetrators were previously unknown to the authorities. But that was far from the truth.
I'm talking today with Paul Blanchard, who claims that he was working undercover for the Secret Services and that he passed on critical intelligence to the authorities about the names of the bombers involved in the 7/7 attacks. Paul, thank you very much for joining us. I understand as a matter of court record that you were undercover and acting on behalf of the Spanish authorities, and that all this has been heard as evidence in open court.
Yes, in 2002, I was recruited by the CGI, that's the Spanish Police Intelligence Services, to infiltrate criminal and terror groups who were stealing money and laundering money.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Yes, it was. Sometimes I had armed police protection.
And this undercover work resulted in some very serious criminals being arrested.
Yes, it did indeed. 18 members of a Lebanese mafia syndicate.
And you continued to report to the Secret Services?
Yes, because I was undercover, I was able to infiltrate a terror group who were raising money for terrorist activities.
And one such group was based in the UK?
Yes, it was. It was a terrorist cell in Birmingham who I later found out were raising money for the 7/7 bombings.
That was the 4 London bombings, including King's Cross.
That's right.
You met in person with these terrorists?
Yes, I did, on many occasions.
And you say you can identify the leader of the cell? You'll forgive me if I say that this sounds incredible, especially in view of the review committee based on the 7/7 bombings.
It might sound unbelievable, but I have irrefutable proof. I have audio recordings with Mohammed Khan and others in the group. They stole £375,000 from the NatWest Bank in Derby to finance the 7/7 bombings. And I can trace that money all the way from the NatWest Bank directly to Mohammed Khan.
And the money made its way eventually to the terrorist cell?
100% correct.
And what else did you discover?
I came into possession of a list, a secret list, of other terrorists in the group.
And you say you sent this intelligence to MI5, our security services, 12 months before the bombings?
Yes, I was interviewed by MI5 and Special Branch Officer Andrew Blaine. I faxed my agent's report in July 2004, naming Mohammed Khan, and although I didn't know it at the time, 2 of the future 7/7 bombers, Mohammed Sadiq Khan and Shezweed Tanweer.
And you say you can prove all this?
This is my agent's report, and Special Branch Officer Andrew Blaine provided a witness statement confirming that he passed this to MI5, and that witness statement was an exhibit at Westminster Magistrates Court.
Andrew Blaine writes and says, "The only time I recollect speaking to Mr. Blanchard again was on the 21st of July when he rang me in the office and he wanted to fax me some details to pass on to the security services, and I passed the details on."
Without doubt, MI5 had my report 12 months before the 7/7 bombings.
Now here's where it becomes even more incredible. After the Madrid bombings, the Spanish Secret Services dropped you like a hot brick.
I became a huge embarrassment to them, and they tried to silence me by not acknowledging that I was actually working for them, because I also identified money that was used to finance the Madrid bombings.
Essentially, they sold you down the river, denying that you were their agent.
Yes, that's right, even denying that we'd ever spoken on the telephone.
I understand that they tried to extradite you to Spain to face charges there.
Thankfully, our appeal court saw through their lies of trumped-up charges and refused the request.
And that was because you were able to play in court the covert recordings that you'd obtained.
Yes, including recordings with terrorists, because I knew at some stage I would need to protect my interests.
So to be clear, the extradition court in the UK at Westminster Magistrates Court heard these covert recordings and accepted them as proof that you were telling the truth.
Yes, the evidence I presented at court was never challenged by the police or the CPS. I've also got over 500 hours of recordings with terrorists and money launderers scattered around the globe. I just hope the fifth bomber, that's Mohammed Khan, the fundraiser for the 7/7 bombings, will be held to account by MI5. We'll have to wait and see.
Paul, thank you for setting the record straight.
The new government should reopen the inquiry into the London 7/7 bombings by the Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament. This is based on irrefutable evidence that MI5 failed to act on intelligence that should have stopped these terror attacks. Please sign our petition so that the victims of the atrocities can finally know the harrowing truth of how our security services ignored and failed to investigate evidence given to them a year before the bombings.